Okay, what we're going to be doing today is some speed modeling. So we're going to model this. We're going to model it, put the shaders on it, light it, and render this. And so I'm just going to go through and show you how to do this. So we're going to kind of see how fast we can build this. So here we go. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to build in the top view because it's going to be setting down. So we'll bring that up big. And we want to go up here to our snaps and make sure our snaps are set on grid points to start off with. And we're going to be building with splines. So we'll go over here to shapes. We're going to build a circle. We'll snap it right in the middle and make a circle. It doesn't matter how big you make it because we'll set our settings as we go. So let's see, let's make this one, we'll make this 2 feet. So go over here in 2 feet. Now I've already got my settings set up so that I've gone to my customize and my unit setup to be using feet with decimal inches. And we're using the default setting of 1 unit is 1 inch. So that's going to be the setup that I'm using. And now you'll see that this spline is kind of faceted by default. Max optimizes their splines, and that's not what we're going to want. So what we want to go is right here under interpolation, and we want to click this adaptive, okay? And that tells it to subdivide that however many times to keep a nice, smooth spline. So that's what we want. Okay, I want to clone this spline because I'm going to, I want to keep this one here, but I'm going to make a copy of it. So we're just going to right click on it and clone, and we want it to be a copy, not an instance, okay, a copy. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and right click and convert that one to a spline so I can get some more tools. Okay, then we're going to go here to spline and we will pick it. Okay, now you can't see it being picked because there's one underneath it, but it's picked. And then we're going to go to outline right here. And then when I click this outline, I can come out here and I can drag, and then you'll see that we're outlining this. Okay. But we're actually going to type in a number. Now to do this, we want to turn our snap off of this so that we're not snapping to the grid when we do this. And what we're going to type in here is, let's see, I think about it, it's 8 inches. So 8 inches, that's what we want. Yeah, that'll work good. Okay, so it's a neat little utility that allows you to take one spline and make 2. And now what we want to do is, in our piece, we've got this round part down here. Okay, so we need to create that. So to do that, what we're going to do is turn our snaps on, but this time we're going to right-click and turn our snaps to pivot point and vertex, because we don't want to snap to the grid. What we're going to do is snap to the vertices on these circles. Okay, so we're going to turn that on, and we're going to create another circle. And so we're going to go right here because there's a vertex on this line right here, and we're going to click and drag out, and we're trying to make it, we're going to try to make it the size that firstly fits this. Well, that is 4 inches. So if you go over here to your modify and just type in 4 inches, that is perfectly going to match up with that. Okay. So at that point, we can right click and convert that to a spline. Okay, and then we're going to take this outside spline. We want to pick it and then attach to it so we can keep our center here. So click, and then we'll attach this new spline to it. Okay, at that point, I can go into my segments, and I can pick these segments and delete them, and those segments and delete them, because I'm just going to build this half. Okay, so then we want to go in here and select this segment, delete it, this one, and delete it, and now we've got that shape that we want, but these vertices need to be welded here, so we need to go ahead and select these and just hit weld. The default setting of 0.1 will be fine because they're what we call coincident vertices. They're sitting right on top of each other, so just weld that, and now I have a complete piece that's got this arc that I need for this particular piece right here. Okay. All right, the next thing we need to do is we need to kind of cut it off right here, okay? To do that, an easy way to do that is while you're in your sub-object mode, we can go to create line. So we're not creating a brand new line, we're creating a line that's part of this. And on this one, we want to snap back to grid points. So we'll switch that back to grid points, and we're going to click here and then here, okay? So center point, then 1, 2, 3, 4 up, and 2 over. Okay, that's what we're going to do to cut this. Now, it seems like we're cutting too much off, but that's because we got to rotate this to leave an opening down here at the bottom. So let's turn our snaps off. Now, what we're going to do, turn off your create line. And what we need is a set of vertices where these two lines cross. And Max has a really nice little utility here called cross insert. I'm going to get a little bit closer in here. And when you click on that, it puts a vertex on this line and a vertex on that line. And we'll do the same here. Okay, so now you can go over here and turn this off. But just to let you know, Max, anytime I'm in a function, if I'm out in the viewport and I right click, it will turn that function off. So that's a little bit faster way to do it. Okay, so let's go here to segment. Let's delete this, and that. Then we need to do the same thing before. We need to select these vertices and weld them. And then what we need to do is to rotate it. Okay. Now, when we go to rotate, we need to pick rotate first. We want this to be on world, and we want this one to be on the bottom one. Okay. This needs to be world, which is your coordinate system. And then this one, which is your transform coordinate center, okay, we want them both to be on world, which means we'll use the center here. We want to turn our angle snaps on, so we're snapping an angle, grab this outside, and then rotate this, okay, and we're going to be rotating it 25 degrees, and then that will get us the piece that we need. Now, I'm going to go ahead and put a symmetry on here so that you can kind of see what will happen when I do that. So if I come in here, put a symmetry on it, and we do it on the, the x-axis, one of the things that's going on is because I rotated this, its transformations are messed up. So I have to rotate this back up like that, and there we go. You'll see that we have both sides. Okay, now we're going to do more to this before we do that, but that's just showing you what we're going to be doing is we're going to be building one side and then we'll be flipping the other. So I'm just going to delete that off of there right now. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Now, I need to draw some other circles. We need to have these pieces. We have these little protrusions that go around out here, so we need to go ahead and draw those. And so to do that, we're going to come in here, draw a circle. We're going to turn off our angle snaps, turn our normal snaps back on, and we want it back to vertex. And then we're going to actually draw right on that corner vertex right there. Okay. So what I'm doing is I'm snapping to that corner so that it's centered on that corner. Okay. And then let's go ahead and set this, and let's go ahead and set this for, I think maybe 3 inches will be good. Let's look at that. I think that's a little small. Let's go for 4 inches. All right, we'll go for 4 inches on that. Okay, so now what we need to do is to rotate that into place, okay? And to do that, we want to turn our angle snaps on. And we're trying to put one here, here, and here. And so let's rotate the first one probably maybe right about there, which is a minus 35 degrees. Okay, if you look down here, you'll see, okay? Now let's hold down our shift key and let's rotate, let's say, I think something maybe, what have I got, 40 degrees there? Let's try that, make 2. Let's see how that looks. Did I say 2 and didn't do 2? 40 degrees, 2. Okay, and that looks about right, okay? All right, so that's going to work out pretty good. Let's just back up, back to our original one. And the reason we want to do that is before we actually get those in there, we want to scale it and do a center one because we're going to need a little hole that's in here as well, and we can do them both at the same time. So what we can do is to just scale this. I'm going to turn my snaps off for a second. Hold down the shift key and scale this in. Okay. As a matter of fact, let's don't do that. Let's just copy it. Let's clone it right here. So we have a copy, and that way we can set our centers by just typing it in. Let's make a 2-inch radius. So the outside one is a 4-inch radius and the inside one's a 2-inch radius. Now we can pick both of these at the same time, go to our rotation, make sure this is on the bottom one now, world and world. Okay, and now we can do both of these same time. So I'm holding down my shift key. I'm sorry, not holding down the shift key. First we want to, angle snap back on. Okay, rotate it. And we determine minus 35 degrees. You can always look right down here. It'll be minus 35 degrees. And once I have that one, hold down the shift. We're dragging it one more time. This one, we're doing 40 degrees. Okay, so if you look down there at the bottom, you'll see on the Z, it says 40 degrees down there. And we want 2 of these. And there we go. That's what we need. Okay, so what we want to do is take this one, and we want to attach these to it. So here and here, here and there and there. Okay, and then we want to turn that off, which you can click here to turn it off, or like I said before, right click, and that'll turn it off. Okay, those are attached together as one spline. Now we need to do a little trick in here, which is one of the problems that we're going to get into is we're going to come in here in a little bit, and we're going to want to fillet this edge. And you see these vertices that are along this edge, they're in a bad place for us to fillet because we would hit that vertex. So we want to rotate this spline, but we can rotate all these at the same time. So if I click this one, I'm holding down my control key to add to my selection like that. Then we're going to go to rotate. Now this time on our rotate, we want it to stay on view, and we want this one where you have a little red dot on 2 different objects. That means everything's going to use its own pivot point to rotate. So when I rotate this one, those 2 will rotate too. So we want to grab it and we want to rotate. You'll see those vertices changing, okay? And what we want to rotate it is 50 degrees. So if you'll look down at the bottom on the Z-axis, you'll see 50 degrees. Now, when I'm saying that, make sure you understand I'm saying right here. If you look right down here, when I'm rotating it, you can see it says it. And what we want to do is rotate it till it's minus 50 degrees. And now these vertices are offset, so it'll be easy for me to fillet those. Okay, we need to go in here and add vertices in these places. So we're going to do our cross insert. And so we're going to click here, 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 and here. So we have vertices in here. Right click to stop. Then we're going to go to spline, and we're going to get rid of these excess pieces that we don't need. Okay, we don't need that. And we don't need this center piece in there. So we're doing that. Okay, and now that's pretty much the shape we want. The thing that we've got a little bit of an issue with right here is the same thing we've had before. These are not welded, so we need to go ahead and just drag a box around all of these, and we can weld them at the same time. The default is fine. Just click weld, and now those will all be one thing. Now, the next thing we want to do is to do a chamfer, or not a chamfer, I'm sorry, a fillet on these corners. So let's do them all at the same time. So I'm holding the control key down, and I'm going to pick these corner vertices. Okay, and I can do them all at the same time. And then I can go over to fillet, and then we can go ahead and type in 0.6. Okay, did you see me do that? I'll do it again. What we want to go right here, fillet, is 0.6 is what we want our fillet to be. And that makes us a nice round curve on all of those to get the shape that we want. Because in this piece, we have these little humps that come in here, and then they kind of curve into there, okay? So we've got a nice little curve in there. And so now our shape is looking pretty good, okay? Now, we don't really need holes for these pieces right here because they just kind of float on the top, but we did need holes in here because you can see a little bit of this chamfered edge as this tube goes in there, okay? Now, to make this 3D'sy, okay, so we're just going to go into our orthographic view here. So Alt key, center mouse button, and kind of rotate to an orthographic. Look at this, and then I'm going to hit P. I'm going to switch to a perspective. I like a perspective view to kind of look at it. What we're going to do is we're going to add a bevel to this, okay? So we're adding a bevel modifier to this. Now, we won't need any of this information that's up here at the top, so you can just close this parameters. This is the information that we are going to want to use. Now, this is the way this works. We have level 1, level 2, and level 3. Level 1 is the bevel on the bottom. Level 2 is the thickness of the object, and level 3 is the bevel on the top. So we're going to set our level 2 first, and we're going to go for 1 inch. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and hit F3 on my keyboard, which will shade the viewport. And then I'm going to hit F4 to shade that as well. Now, right up here on our view, you'll see that this says realistic. You really don't want realistic. What we want is shaded, okay? We don't need shadows on here when we're modeling. Another thing that I have a tendency to do is to right-click in here and go down here to display selected and uncheck this one right here. What this does is it means every time we pick something, it shows a wireframe on it. And I want a wireframe on there sometimes and a wireframe on there. Sometimes I don't want a wireframe on there. So I turn that off, okay? Once I turn that off, then that means F4 on my keyboard will turn the wireframe on and off. If I leave that on, F4 will not turn it off. It's by default stuck on. So I turn that off so I can turn this on and off according to how I want to see it. Okay, so now we've got a thickness to this. Now we need to set our bevels in here, okay? And so for our bevel, let's see, we've got an inch thickness. Let's maybe go 0.4. Okay, we're going to go 0.4 for our bevel. Now I take it back. Maybe that's too big. Let's go 0.3. Okay, now you'll see that's setting a bevel on the back. And then if we go down here, turn on level 3, and we put 0.3 here, that's going to put a bevel on our front side. Now you'll see that they're not beveled yet. We just got the distance. And so what you do is you take this number, whatever it is, and you paste it in here, and that's going to make that go in the back. Okay, now the reason we do that is we're doing a little bevel, a chamfer, and chamfers, I would say 98% of the time are always at a 45-degree angle, and this will make that at a 45-degree angle, so that's what we want to do. Now, the problem we get is if we take that and we paste it in here too, it's going out instead of in, okay? All you have to do is put a minus in front of it, and then it'll go in, and so now we've got the nice bevel chamfer all the way around it. Now, one of the things that happened when we were doing this, and I'll show you this, is that the way we did this, when we turn this on and off, what you'll see is that the bevel is going on the outside of our original spline. Okay, it's going on the outside of it. And the reality is it's making it swell, and I want it to go on the inside. To do that, you're going to do what's called the start outline. You're going to offset that. And what you do is you take this minus number, this last one, whatever you end up putting in here, okay, and if you paste it in there, now what you'll see is that the bevel is going on the inside of the spline, and that's what I want, okay? So that looks pretty good. And so that's our basic shape that we've got, and that looks pretty good. Okay, that's a good start. Now we're going to start making some of our other parts. Okay. All right, let's go back and look at it from the top. Now I'm just going to turn this bevel off right now so we can kind of see this in a spline state. And I'm going to make a another circle that we'll use for these pieces right in here. So let's go make another circle, and we're going to snap it. Let's turn our snaps on. We want to snap to, vertexes. Okay, and we want to snap to this vertex right here and draw a little circle. Okay, and then let's go over here and set our distance for that. And I want it 2 inches is what I want to do. So let's need to get rid of that. So 2 inches for that. Okay. Now we need to go ahead and rotate that so we can create these. Okay, there's 4 of them on here. So we're going to go back to our rotate. We're going to turn our angle snap back on, and we're still using our world and our world transforms here. And we're going to rotate this, and we'll just kind of eyeball this, set this over here. We just rotate this in a little bit. Okay, so about there looks pretty good. So that's 20 degrees. Okay, now we're going to hold down the shift key. And let's see, we need one right about there. That's minus 35 degrees. And then we need 3 of these. And that looks pretty good. Yeah. That's probably close enough. Yeah, that'll work. Okay, so on these, what we're going to do is attach those together. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to convert one of these to an editable spline, and then I can attach the others to it. Okay. Now what we're going to do is go add our bevel onto that. Now, one of the kind of cool things about the bevel is whatever our last setting was, it keeps the last setting. Okay. So that's going to give us our dimensionality that we need to. We'll adjust it some, but that's what we're going to do. Okay. So the other thing we need to do is have a hole inside of those. Okay. So what we're going to do is come back to the top. And then we're going to pick each one of these at a subobject at the spline state. Okay. So let's go ahead and pick all of these. And now we're going to right click scale. And then we need to make sure that this is scaling to each one to its own pivot center. Okay. Now we're holding the shift key. And then we can scale this down, okay? Now, what I'm scaling it down is to 50%, okay? So what you're looking at right here, if you'll look, is right down here on our X and Y, because we're scaling on both of these. We want to hold down the shift key, so we're making a copy, and I'm scaling until that says 50 down there. Okay, and that's what I want. And why did it not go to its center? Okay. All right, I'll just do this one then. We'll do this one 50%. Come on. Okay, 50%. Okay, then we'll rotate back to our world. And hold down my shift and drop one there, drop one there, and drop one there. Okay, so now when we add our bevel on there, then we've got our hole in there. Okay, now this bevel's on this small one is not as big as this, so we're going to come in here and let's drop these down to 2 on all of these. So all these that say 0.3, let's go for 0.2. Okay, that's better. And then our height, let's go to a half of this size. So 0 here and 6 there. And that's better. And we'll go for that. Okay, so then the other thing we need to do is to move these up. Okay, so if we go to the front view, we can kind of see. And let's just kind of slide these straight up for a minute. Make sure both your snaps are off. Just kind of slide them up, then let's pick this one, turn it back on, and then what we want to do is just kind of slide it so we're sitting it right on top of that piece. Okay, like that. Okay, then that looks pretty good. Now, what we can do with these at this point is we can group these together. Okay, so we're going to pick this one and then hold down the control key and pick that one, and we can group those. Okay. All right, now we have the same thing is going to go at the top and the bottom. Okay, so what we're going to do on this is we're going to slide this up, and then let's go ahead and put a symmetry modifier on this, and it'll be on the Z axis. Then we're going to take our mirror and we're going to slide this down. Okay. And we want to slide it until we get this piece sitting on the ground. Okay, as a matter of fact, let's do this a little more accurate so that it'll be easier for you. Let's put this back down on the ground. And what I want you to do is to pull it up and set it right on the first grid. So let's set it so it's sitting on this first grid line. Okay. Now put your symmetry on it. Z, open up the symmetry, the mirror, grab the y-axis and pull it down. Okay. And what we want to do is, you can see in here that it's floating off of the edge just a little bit. So we don't want to pull it all the way down. Pull it so that it floats up just a little bit, something like that. Okay, so it's floating off of the ground plane. Okay, and that's what we want. And that looks pretty good. Okay, so now we need to go ahead and make like these pieces in here. Okay. All right, so let's do that next. Okay, so let's see what I want to do next. Let's go ahead and make these tubes like this. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's go back to our top view, and I'm just going to go ahead and open this group, and let's go ahead and just turn these off so we can see back to here. Okay, let's see. All right, so let's create, let's see, a cylinder. That's what I want to do, is create a cylinder. So we're going to create, we want a tube. Okay, so we're just going to create it right here. Click, hold down, drag, and then drag again, which sets our height. Okay, so on a tube, you're setting a radius, inside, outside, and height, and we're going to adjust all this. So let's just start with it. So what we're going to want to do is to kind of center it on here. It doesn't have to be perfectly centered because we're going to snap it later. But pretty much center it on there. Let's give it 60 sides. We don't want to do any subdivisions, so we're just going to build it correct, 60 sides. And let's go 2 inches. Let's see here. On our outside radius, that'll fit it right inside of that circle. And then our inside, let's see. I shut my image. Let's bring it back up. Okay, there we go. All right, so we're trying to, make this piece in here. So we're going to go for, I don't know, what do you think? We'll try 1 inch. That seems a little thick. Let's go 1.2. Yeah, that sounds about right. Okay, so that sets our radius. We're just going to isolate this to finish this piece out. So on our height segments, we need to be set to 2. We need 1 ring in here because we have to make a little bit of an inset in here. So we'll go for that right there. So let's go ahead and add an edit poly on this. And then I can grab this loop and loop it. And then let's slide that up. And maybe about that far in. Okay. So then what we're going to do is an extrude. Okay, now when your extrude comes in, a lot of times you have some really wild settings in here. Just right click on these little arrows and zero this out. Okay, now this is the width, and so we're going to give it something about like that. And then this is the height, and we want it to go in. So we're doing a little indent, something like that. Okay, so yours doesn't have to be exactly the same as mine. Okay, but we want something about like that. All right, we're going to set that in. Now, these edges right here, I want to be a little softer. I don't want them to be hard. I want to round those a little bit. So I'm going to do them both at the same time. So clicking that, loop that, we'll do a chamfer. Like I said, a lot of times you get these really wild settings in here. Just right click and zero these out. And so on the amount of chamfer, we just need a little bit, about something like that. And then we want a couple of iterations in here to kind of round that. Okay, so something like that. And we'll set that in. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to chamfer these inside, this piece here and this edge. So we're going to loop those. And then we're going to chamfer again. Now, in this particular case, I don't want 3. I want this to actually be a nice chamfer in here. So we'll kick that in. And something about like that looks about correct to me. Okay, so that's about what we want. So we want this little inset. We want these a little bit rounded, and then we want this to be a chamfer up top. So that looks good to me right there. Okay, then the next thing we want to do is we need to align this. Okay, so let's end our isolation. Now, if you'll remember, where we initially aligned this arc is on this vertex right here. So I'm going to go back up here on my snaps to vertex and pivot points. Okay, get out of sub-object mode. Now I can grab this as pivot point and I can snap it right into that spot right there. Okay, so now I know when I go to my rotation, we want world to make sure world coordinates here, angle snap. And now when I rotate this, I can put it right inside of that, hold down my shift key, and I'm going to rotate right to here. Now, I need 2 of these, but in this particular case, I'm going to make these instances. That way, when I manipulate one, it'll manipulate all of these. Okay, so an instance is kind of, you kind of think of it as an echo. So if I grab any one of them and I manipulate it, it'll manipulate all of those. Okay, so that gets me my other piece in there. Okay, so on our tube, let's go ahead and give us more height on it. As a matter of fact, what we're going to have to do is do it this way. We're going to go to our vertices and grab the bottom of those, and we're going to slide those down. Okay. We want them a pretty good distance. And now what we're going to do is put a symmetry modifier on that. And that needs to be on the z-axis. And now that symmetry, when I grab the mirror, and I'm going to turn my snaps off, when I move that up and down, that'll give me my bottom part that I need. Okay. So let's go ahead and go back to this piece and turn it back on where we can see. And so now we can adjust these. Okay, so at the top of the stack, we're just going to move this up a little bit. We need that to set in something about like that. I would say set it so that this little bevel right there is pretty much even with the top, kind of like that. Okay, now to get the bottom correct, all we have to do is grab the mirror and slide this down until the same thing happens down here, in which that little inset lines up, and that looks pretty good. Okay. All right, so let's do these all at the same time. So here and here. Go to the front, slide them up. Something like that looks good. Okay, then just pick one of them, symmetry, mirror, slide down, line that up, and those pieces look pretty good. Okay, so that's looking pretty much what we want there. Now we need to come and deal with this guy here, and then we got to deal with these boxes that are in there. Okay. Okay, let's go ahead and put a hole in this. I can't really see the hole in here, but this is going to be glass, and I want it to reflect what's back in there. It doesn't look like that's what this person did, because I don't see the hole, but let's, we know there's a hole in there, so let's go ahead and we're going to alter this a little bit, make the holes in there. Okay, so we will come back to this guy and we turn off everything so we can get back down to the base piece. from the top, look down on it, and let's see, I don't think I need anything in here other than this, so we can just isolate this. And what I want to do here is to clone off of this. Okay, now the reason I want to do that and not just make another circle is this is not floating on our ground plane anymore. So if I put it in here, then I would have to bring it up and snap it, which I can do that. But the easier thing to do on this is just go into my sub-object right here and pick this piece, hold down my Shift key, and just drag it over here. Okay, now you're going to have to kind of eyeball it to get it perfectly inside of this, and then we're going to scale this up. So we're going to scale it, and it's pretty tight, maybe something like that. And we may need to actually adjust it a little bit once we put the bevel and stuff back on it. So try, what you're trying to do is get this distance the same all the way around. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and put my bevel on it so I can actually see what's going on, but I can be down to here with it selected and then click here and I'm up above. Okay, so now I can come in here and I can actually scale it and move it, and I can see what's actually happening to my entire piece. And I think I'm going to go for something like that. Okay, that'll work. Just going to leave my symmetry off and we'll end our isolation. Now we can take this same piece and we're going to make one over here. Okay, so we'll just take this and let's go to top view. And I'm going to go move, hold down my Shift key and drag it over here. Okay. Now in this particular case, I'm going to make this as a copy because I want to manipulate this one separate from this one. Okay. So what we can do is let's turn off our symmetry. Let's go to our edit poly and we're going to grab all of our edges and then scale this. Okay, we're scaling it just on this axis. So we'll have to kind of scale it and then move this to kind of align it. By the way, a way to move things in really small increments, if you right click and you go to move and you go to its settings, okay, then I can move things in increments. Now, we don't really want to do the Z, okay, but I can sit here and really small increments on my Y and Z, my Y and X, and we need to go back just a hair this way, and then that looks pretty good right there. Okay, now to me, this top is thicker. So I'm going to go to vertices and I'm going to go up here on my selection and change it to circle so that I can click to select right in the center and just select these vertices in here. Now I can scale those in to get a little bit thicker piece, which I think is a little bit more like that. Okay. Okay, and then I can turn my symmetry on. Now, you'll notice that this one over here and that one over there look different, okay? And that's okay, because our trick we're going to do on that to make that happen is right now on this symmetry, okay, I can tell it to flip. And when I tell it to flip, then it's going to use the other end, okay? So we'll come here, and now we'll move our mirror up. Actually, no, I think the easier thing is to rip out. I think that's the easier thing. So let's go here and let's go back to my box. I think this is easier. Okay, so what we want to do is go to our pick tool so we're not moving, actually move something. and tell it to ignore back facing so we don't accidentally select something else. And then we want to just drag here and select all these and loop those. Hold down my control key and backspace and we'll just take those out. And I think that will work okay. All right, so we need to move this up. It stands up taller than the others. So let's go move. Yeah, and now I think about that, we're going to need it on the other side. Let's undo that and go ahead and make a copy of this one. Okay, so let's just go over, make a copy, not a reference. We'll do that. So we'll leave that there because we're going to need that over there, and then we'll rip this one out. Okay, so now come in here, edit poly, pick those edges, loop them, hold down the control key, backspace, and then those are out. Okay, then we'll move this one up. It sets up pretty good. Maybe something about like that. Okay, let's go ahead and turn this symmetry back on, and now I can tell for this to take its mirror and move it down to get our bottom piece in there. And something about like that looks about right. Okay, so that gets that over there. Okay, that looks pretty good. All right, so let's go to this and let's go ahead and close the group. Okay, now what we want to do is we want to add these other pieces to it, to that group. So what you do is we can pick these pieces and you go to group, attach, and then click on this group, and now they're part of this group. Okay, so what we can do now is let's go to the top view, and we're going to put a symmetry on this. Actually, I think what I want to do is not put a symmetry on it. I'm going to do a mirror, okay? And the reason I'm going to do a mirror is because I need to have these as two separate pieces. Or, okay, let's do this. Let's open the group. Let's take this one and detach it and then close the group again. So we'll just keep that one as separate. So now we'll go ahead and use the symmetry because the rest of this is the same. So we'll use our symmetry on it. We'll need to grab our mirror and then slide this over. Now that'll need to be right in the center, right there. Okay. Then that gives us this other side. Okay. And now I can grab this one, put this in it. And I should only be having to move it left and right because it's already aligned from top to bottom. Okay. That looks correct. And then we just need to take its symmetry, mirror down. Until I get that pretty much aligned like so. And we can see that it's different. Okay, so it's got the little wedge up here, but then it looks like it's blocked like this over here. So we'll go ahead and bake that in. We'll go ahead and bake the symmetry in. So I'm just going to go ahead and convert this one to editable poly. Now, before we do that, let's go ahead and save this again in case we want to come back to it. So just save it with a new number. And so we can go ahead and convert this piece to an editable poly. Now I'm going to go ahead and grab this center piece. I don't need it. Okay, so I can rip it out. We're going to go loop. We're going to rip that out too. So we're going to rip all of these pieces out. Control, backspace, and that way it's blocky at the bottom. Oh, we lost. Oh, I accidentally had this selected up here. Alt key. And deselect those. Okay, now backspace. There we go. All right, this bottom one needs to slide down a little bit, and I'll tell you why. It's because this whole piece over here is up from the other one, okay? So we're going to yeah, I think that's where I agree before. We don't need a symmetry. What we want to do is mirror. Okay, a mirror is like a symmetry in a lot of ways, but I can manipulate it separate. Okay, so we're going to dump that. Mirror, copy, click OK, and then slide it over. Okay. Now the thing about it is if you look at this, this is set up over the top of this. See how it sits on top? So we're going to go to the front, and then we want to set this so it sits right up on top of it. Okay. So we're going to slide it on our axis and go up. So it's just set up a little bit so that that offsets like that. Okay. But what's happening on the actual image is these pretty much align with each other. So what we're going to do is grab this piece, go to the front, we're going to go to vertices, and we're going to grab its bottom vertices, and then we're going to slide these down so that it's about the same distance as that. It doesn't have to be perfect, but we want to get it about the same so these seem like they're pretty much setting off of the surface, which is what we want right there. Okay, that's looking pretty good. I'm going to go ahead at this point, which I probably should have done a long time ago, is put us a shader on here. So we'll get our arch and design put on here so we have a nice gray shader. And we'll look at perspective for a few minutes. And now that's looking pretty much, you're getting really close to what we're needing. Okay, so this side and that side are pretty much the mirrors, other than this is set up. And then this tube is a little bit different from that one. And I think we're pretty good. Okay, so now we need to make these boxes that are in here. Okay, there's what I see is probably 3 boxes. There's like a box back here, and one here, and one there. And okay, let's make those. Okay, let's go to the top. I think for right now, I'm going to hide these. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and add these to these groups. So attach and add that one to this one, and get this one, attach, add it to that one. Okay, let's just hide both of these right now. We come back to this. Let's see. Matter of fact, I think let's unhide all. Let's hide this one. Let's open this group. Let's go to here. Let's turn off the symmetry, the bevel, so we just see the spline. We're going to grab this spline, and then let's isolate these. So what I'm going to do is the same thing we did before on this one. Let's go ahead and clone this one. I'm going to keep that main one there. Okay. Same thing, convert this to a spline, and now I can go here and grab the spline, and then we can do the outline again. Okay, so we're going to click and outline this, and I think something about like that, which is 6 inches. Okay, so you can go in here and type 6 inches, and that's pretty much what we want right there. Okay. All right, that'll be good for making these this little boxes in here. So now we just have to figure out how we want to cut them into our pieces. Okay, so let's go in here and figure out how we want to cut this. So we're going to go into create line. We want to have our snaps on again. We want them on grids. Now this will all radiate out from the center, so we'll click here first, and then let's see. I want to cut this Yeah, let's snap to there. Okay. Right click to stop. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up and 2 over. Then I want another one, looks like maybe there. Okay, and then we need one more up here. And let's go for, yeah, there. So these are on the same line here. Okay, now, I don't know. I mean, there's a piece here, and then this may be one piece or two or three, a couple of pieces. I don't know. We're just going to make this as one piece because we can't really see. So we're going to cut this so we have a piece here and then a piece there. Okay. I'm not sure where this one ends either because it goes in here, so it doesn't really matter because we won't be able to see it in there. Okay, so right click to stop. Now go to vertices, and then we're going to do our same thing we did before on our cross insert. So we need to cross insert all of these pieces. Like so. Right click to stop, go to our segment, and then we can turn our snap off now. We're going to delete here, here. We don't need this, 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 this. We don't need these, and we don't need those. And that's pretty much what we want. Okay, so we got to weld these vertices. So let's weld those. And then we need to do a fillet on these. Okay, and I'm not sure how much the fillet should be. I'm just going to eyeball it here and kind of see probably something about like that, which is about, looks like 1.6. So if we go over here and type in 1.6, and that looks like that'll be about right. Okay, now these don't really have any kind of a chamfered edge or anything, so we can just put an extrude on that, and then we can extrude those up however far we need. Okay, now, if you get into this situation, you see how we don't have a cap? That's because those ends didn't get welded for some reason, okay? Oh, I know what it was. It's not that it's welded. I didn't complete that line there, okay? So we go back here, back to the top, and I have to draw this line across here. So go back to vertex, create a line. Let's turn our snap, and we want our snap to vertex on, and draw a line from there to cap that. Okay. And then I need to select those and weld them. So now when I go back up, I'll have a cap on that. Okay. And that looks pretty good. Just make sure always, because people forget this, that this needs to be on adaptive. If not, you'll get a faceted look. It's got to be adaptive. Okay, so let's end our isolation and unhide all. Okay, here we need to just turn our bevel, our symmetry back on. So now we just need to come in here and slide these pieces into place. Okay, be sure and turn your snap off, so we're just moving it straight up. Okay, setting it, and then we can adjust. And it's okay if it penetrates into it a little bit there, because we won't be able to see that. Okay. All right, so then same thing, we need a mirror on that piece, a copy, and then we just need to slide it over. And let's unshade it. And there's going to eyeball sliding that so it gets in the center of that. Then that looks pretty good. And then we'll need to slide that one up. Okay, looks pretty good. Okay, we can go ahead and attach those back to those groups. So attach, click here, that'll group it to that one. Take this one, group, attach, click here. Actually, I have this group open. You'll have to click the pink box. The pink box is the group, and then I can go ahead and close that group. And so that looks like we've got the left and the right finished. We just need to build this little box back here. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. So let's go build this box back here. Then we can set up our lights and put our shaders on here and finish up with what we're doing. Okay, so let's build this box back here. So we're going to go back to the top view. Okay. And what we're going to do is build a, let's see, what do I want to do this? Yeah, let's just build a box. So we're going to build a box. A little bit of height. And so once we make it, then we'll just determine, let's say, yeah, let's just go for 12 inches here and 12 inches here. We'll just say it's perfect. So actually highlight the whole thing and just type in 1. Now on our height, tell you what, let's don't make a box. Be easier if we do it as a rectangle as a spline. So let's just make a rectangle. Okay, and then we'll do the same thing, a 1 foot here, 1 foot here. Okay, and then right click to move, and then we want to zero it out on the X so that it's centered. We don't want to do it on the Y up and down, just on the X. And then let's kind of center it so that about the same amount of space here is space there. Okay. All right, then let's just right click, convert that to an editable spline. Let's go to vertices. Let's select all the vertices and their beziers, and we want them to be corners. Okay. So right click, just make them corners. Now we want to take these 2 vertices here and we're going to scale them. Now this tool right up here, pivot center, needs to be to the single red dot. That way they scale to their center, and we're going to scale those in. Something about like that. Okay, that's about correct. Now what we're going to do is we want those rounded. See how they're rounded in here? So we'll pick all of those, fill it, come in here, click, hold down and drag, and we can kind of round those. So we get the kind of a piece like that. Now, the other reason I was doing it that way is now we can come in and put our bevel on it, and it's already got bevel settings in there from the last time we used it, which are about what we need. So we want the one on the bottom, you can see sets up just a little bit off the ground. So let's pull it up a little bit off the ground like so. And then holding our shift key, we'll need one that sets a little bit above. And we want it as, we'll do it as an instance. I don't think it really matters, but that way if I need to adjust it, which I don't think it will. Okay, so that one flows up a little bit. You can see it floats up just a little bit here, and then it doesn't go to the ground, so that's fine there. And so that's the beginnings of that box. Now we need some other little boxes going down. Okay. And let's go ahead and just build them the exact same way. Okay, we'll want to unshade this. So let's start off with a rectangle. And we want to make a small rectangle that doesn't quite, we have to have 2 back here that fit into this space. So about like that would work. Hold down your shift key, make one over here as a copy, not an instance, a copy. And then hold our shift key down, and then we need to put one up front here. Center that. And make that a copy. Okay, so now we can take these and pick one of them, right click and convert it to a spline, and then attach these other 2 to it, like so. And then we can add our bevel to that. Okay, now let's just isolate that. So we're going to right click, isolate selection, and then shade that. And I think that bevel is too much. Okay, so let's back this bevel back down to say 1. And we want copy this there. And I think that looks better. Okay. And so then this will set the height to them. Okay. As a matter of fact, I think this is what we're going to do on this is let's just bake these in. So I'm going to go ahead. No, I'll tell you what. We won't bake it in. Let's just put an edit poly on top of it. This will make it easier for us. Okay. Let's end our isolation. And let's go to the front view. And then let's just slide these up so that they're just barely protruding up there at the top. Okay, through there. Now we can go to vertices and we can drag a box to get all these vertices and pull them down. And they need to sit on the ground. Okay. So let's go ahead and put our gray shader on that too. And I think that's pretty much it. That's our piece. Okay, so now what we're going to do is let's grab all these pieces back here and let's group them. Okay, let's name our groups. Okay, so this one is back. Let's call this square bracket. Okay, and this one is our right loop. And this one is our left loop. And now I can grab all of those together and I can group that. And we'll just call this one the whole piece. Okay, go ahead and save here again. You guys need to be saving quite often because you'll make some mistakes and want to come back. And so now that piece is looking pretty good. Okay. Now I've got that spline in here. I don't want to delete it because I want to be able to maybe come back to it. One of the kind of cool things I do is go over here on my display and I can click shapes and then it won't show me any spline in there. And so there we go. Okay, so I'm thinking that's looking pretty good what we've got. Now we're ready to get in here and do some lighting and put some materials on here. Okay, so let's go ahead and build our little stage and get some lights in here, and then we'll start putting our materials on there. Okay, so let's go ahead and go in here and let's make our stage and put our lights in here.